Hello there, and welcome to The Great Comeback. I am your host, Holly McClain, and I'm coming to you live on WGSN-DB Going Solo Network, the #1 singles talk network out there. I'm a life coach and counselor, and I help people come back from big life shifts and upsets. So think big breakups, divorce, career changes, teen struggles. If it's a life transition you're going through, together, you and I will master plan your comeback. So today, life coach Julie Mast is back to co-host with me, and we are going to chat about how to get unstuck. This show topic of getting unstuck actually came out of a conversation that Julie and I were having about feeling stuck. Both of us were actually in a very stuck place. And the more that I think about it, the more I realize that stuck happens quite often. There are huge stuck points where we're really paralyzed and we're like, what's next? I don't know what direction to go or what to do. And then there are smaller stuck points where we're maybe stuck in some temporary confusion or we're in a space of indecision. But regardless, when we're stuck, it feels bad. And usually when we're stuck, we spin and it's hard to kind of get out of these circles and cycles. So basically today, Julie and I are going to share with you tools, strategies, and real world client successes around getting unstuck. And these concepts and tools will help you open up, maybe give you some new ideas. If anything, you will find some relief, and quite possibly it might actually get you unstuck and moving. Now, we've heard this before, and often they will say, you can't get yourself out of a situation with the same thinking that got you into a situation, or stuckness in our case. So keep your ears perked up as we share, because you're going to be hearing us talk about different concepts and frames of mind and ways of thinking about things that could really help you out in your stuck spot today. So, Julie, welcome back to your third visit on the show. I'm going to let you kind of run away and just introduce yourself, and then we will dive right in.
Yes, and I have to just comment super quick. I started to laugh when you said that saying where you can't get yourself out of a situation with the same energy that you're taking, that got yourself into that situation. I don't know if that made sense, but every time I hear that, when you're feeling stuck, it's like the worst thing to hear, right? Because you don't know how to get out of it. It's like this cycle. So I've had clients, tell me that too. It's like, we've all been there. We all get stuck. Anyway, I'm Julie, and I work with women to sort of untie those knots, those emotional wounds that really sort of disrupt your relationship with food and your body. So I help women sort of like spiritually get to their ideal healthy weight and really work on long-lasting wounds around like food and body image. So that's my specialty.
Such important work. Oh my gosh. Thank you, Julie. So I thought I would start with one of my bigger stuck points that I'm going through right now, just to kind of give an idea of where I'm at and like have a great sample for a stuck point. And then the process that I actually take myself through, because not all of us have a coach or someone that we can have this type of conversation with to help us bounce off ideas, etc. So when I'm by myself and struggling and I need some relief, this is kind of the process that I go through. So last time I talked to you, I was just feeling like really flat, which is a stuck spot, like just kind of flat about a lot of different things, like social life, growth in terms of workplace stuff, because I always like to be sort of moving forward and have new, fresh, creative, fun ideas. I mean, that's when I get sparked up, but you can't be in that state of mind all the time. And then also missing my people from home, because I'm from the Bay Area. I live in California, and I'm living up north, so I'm about 2 to 3 hours away from the Bay Area. I've been here for a couple years now, actually 3 years. But I miss my people and all the things. And so I'm like, something is flat. Like I'm just not feeling lit up these days. And I don't know what's going on or how to solve my struggle. So what I ended up doing as I sat down and I was like, okay, it's hard to see the forest from the trees when it's just you and yourself.
It's hard to self-coach sometimes.
Self-coach, yeah, exactly. And I'm thinking, I have these tools and ways of doing things and mindset stuff, but it's just really, really hard when it's you.
Yeah.
So I actually wrote notes down. I made this little 4-step process or this little list for myself. And I started out by going first and foremost, validating, okay, I'm in this space. I'm feeling these feelings. It's okay. What am I feeling? And I just started documenting, like, what does flat even mean? And I just started writing it out and kind of purging all of that stuff out. That helps a ton, Julie, because it takes it from swirling around in here. And I'm thinking about it when I'm doing the dishes. And then I'm in my office and then it pops up again. And I'm like, I just need to like brain dump this stuff out.
It's kind of like name it and claim it. And then when it comes out onto paper, there's structure around it, and you can kind of think, okay, this is what I'm feeling. Because when you're swirling in those feelings, that's where you do get in that whirl, sort of, where you're stuck. So getting it on paper is super important.
Totally, and it's like this game of ping pong. And I'm like, okay, let me complain it out. And it felt good to just complain it out. We need to complain. We need to vent. And I just vented it out on paper. Then I went with the classic coaching question. So with coaching, one of the big questions, which is a very supportive and nourishing question, is when you ask your client, what are you wanting? How often does somebody ask us in our daily life, Holly, Julie, what do you want? Like, what am I craving? What do I want? And I essentially broke it down like, I really want this sense of community that I've had in the past when I lived in my other location, that I built and created with my sisters. And I don't feel like I have that right now. And it's trickling into all these other aspects of my life. So part 2 was, what am I wanting, and getting clear on that. And sometimes it takes days or weeks to really figure out and tap into what it is that you actually want. So figuring that piece out kind of gets you, okay, this is where I am. Now, the third part is, what's getting in the way of having what I want? You get creative. You're problem solving, proximity. What's getting in the way? Proximity and where I live. Me maybe not allocating the time to cultivating these relationships in my local area because I'm focused on work or other things. So what do I want? What's getting in the way? And then once I flesh that out, giving myself what we call in the coaching world, Julia, the turtle step.
Yes.
What little thing can I do to move the needle to get me closer to what I want? And you'd be so surprised. Action, it's hard to get that first little baby step going, but action brings about a lot of relief, and it can shift a lot and help with that sticky stuck feeling.
Yes, that's so important. That shift, those little miniature shifts. I actually had a client recently. I said, drive a different way to work. Like shake up the snow globe a little bit. Because
I love that.
We get so conditioned to just, stay in the same routines, and it's amazing. I mean, I would invite anyone to do that. You'd be surprised when you detour or stop and talk to someone you normally wouldn't. You don't think you have time, and sort of the nuggets of wisdom that sort of come through.
What, Julie? I love that, and I want to share something. I'm going to go off on a little bit of a tangent. Speaking of lifting things up, I switched out in my bathroom. I switched out my pump hand soap to a really cute bar of like swirly soap. Made a huge difference.
Yes.
Things up, because I actually was reading a book. I'm reading Tosha Silver's book that you actually gifted me 3 years ago.
But you're reading it at just the right time, aren't you?
I'm reading it the right time. It kind of fell off my shelf and it was perfect.
Yes.
And this book talked about, one of the components is purging and cleaning out some of the old stuff that might be keeping you stuck. And so I started this purge in my house and literally cleaned out my different rooms of my home and felt so much relief. Like, I even donated my wedding dress that I've been hanging on to from my marriage.
That's huge. That's like a symbolic purge, you know? It's like a big one.
But it's something like my home feels different just from clearing that stuff out. Like you were saying, pulling all the pieces out, mixing it up and doing it a little bit differently and swapping out the soap was huge.
You know what? I actually got that idea from her. That's funny. Wait, I forgot that is where I got that little, suggestion for my client. I forgot that it was her. That's a great book. It's a great book.
And we should share with our listeners she has one I'm reading, one I've already read, 3 books in total.
Yes.
Outrageous Openness was the first one that I started with that you gifted to me. Yeah. Then we went into It's Not Your Money, which is about detachment and not being so attached to money and all the other things in our world.
Yeah.
And then there's one more, but I don't know the title.
Change Me Prayers.
Change Me Prayers.
Prayers. Change me. And this is a great thing for our stuck people, is just like opening up. And every one of our prayers starts with change me. So, change me, change my heart so I see opportunity and change my career so that I can feel content, or, it's just sort of opening up your heart for something different. So that's a good book for people that are stuck, I think.
I love that. Yeah, I'm reading it during my stuckness right now.
I know. I think it's something energetically, because when we had this, was it last week? We were like, I feel so stuck. So we have this awesome blessing that we can actually coach each other and kind of help each other. So it's been nice. But I think stuckness and feeling like you're in a rut is universal for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So those 4 steps, I hope those help our listeners. If there's anything that you glean from that you can use to help you just kind of wiggle the tooth a bit, like get a little bit out of the stuckness. It can provide some relief to do that little analysis with yourself, which is actually a deep analysis, but you can do it alone and go it alone. So
I think that's so beautiful. I think that it's the question that's sometimes hard for me is, what do you want? And really, I think getting stuff on paper is so vital to getting unstuck. But I think sometimes we're unhappy and we don't actually know what we want. So that question, although it's small, don't be surprised if you need to take some more time with it and really figure out what you want. Because that's oftentimes we don't know. And that is the root of our unhappiness and stuckness. A lot of the times we don't know. So,
yeah. And sometimes I think just pulling out maybe one little component of a bigger picture, because especially if you're going through a life transition, whether it be, a breakup or a divorce or a big career shift, there might be 10 things that are leaving you feeling stuck or hesitant to make a move or move forward. And you can just pick one simple thing.
Yeah.
And just dive into that one little thing. Like, gosh, I come home from work in the afternoon and I feel lonely. Maybe you had a family shift within your family. Looking at, like, what are you wanting? I want human connection, or I want to have something creative that I can do, or I want a hobby maybe, and just kind of filtering through to analyze, like, what could that little thing be? Because we find it's the little tiny things that make
the little things. And if you try to fix all of them at once, all at the same time, then you actually will feel more stuck, because you're like, how can I get out from under this? So I think that's so important, Holly, is picking one component that feels easy and also will bring you joy, so if everything that's not going well, pick the one little thing that will, the new soap, or, a new dress, or going to a movie, or whatever, tiny something that's going to kind of move the needle. And I think you and I talked too about stuff I work on with my clients is the scope. So I have them draw a wheel, and the center is, I have them write me, or, they write their name, and then all the different components that make that wheel work. So whether it be like your connection with your husband or your love life, your family connections, your work, your spiritual life. A big one is play. Like, are you playing enough? And so anyway, whatever they feel right, whatever components they want in their wheel, and then seeing kind of what is stuck there, what part of their wheel is not functioning, holding the whole wheel to integrity. So if it's something like your relationship, your love life is not going well, really strengthening the other parts of that will sort of pull everything else out, the momentum, that positive momentum. So not focusing on what's not working, but really kind of trying to get the other parts of the spoke strong. So if you sit and focus on what's stuck, it's sometimes if you focus, it actually gets worse and worse. So sort of distracting yourself with what's going well will actually help ease that, the part that isn't doing well. Does that make sense? It's kind of confusing, but the more you focus on what's not working, the more of that you're going to create in your life. So really focusing on what's working, building that up, eventually all the spokes kind of start working together.
Julie, that makes sense. And normally we are so trained, whether it's through like our traditional education system, if something's not working, we want to focus on it.
Yes.
If you're struggling in math, we're going to go see a math tutor. We're going to focus on it and build that skill up. But in this case, it completely makes sense because the more we are focusing on something that's not quite working, it's not that we're ignoring it, we're still addressing it, but that can be a downer. Yeah. And sometimes that thing, I just had a thought when you were sharing that, sometimes that thing that maybe like, for example, our love life, if it's not going in the right direction or we're wanting love and we don't have love in our life in that way, the absence of having it, sometimes it's just a matter of certain things being aligned in order for that to happen. So we might not have control over certain things. And I mean, we live in uncertain times. Life is uncertain when you really think about it. As humans, we crave certainty. So what can we do when we have a situation that we can't just kind of control and manipulate?
Yeah, you can't snap your fingers and have it solved.
Yeah. So we have to focus on the other beautiful things going on in our life and to raise our vibrational level and enjoy and feel good. So that makes complete sense when you think about it.
Yeah, and it's hard not to focus on the wound, right? Like you literally feel like your heart is, broken or something. But the more you focus on that, the lack, your energy level gets taken down. I think you and I were talking too about. I do this with my clients for folks that are trying to get to their ideal body. Like, check your thoughts too. What you're saying to yourself, like. Is your thought upstream or downstream? So if you keep telling yourself, I can't lose weight, I've done this and this, and I can't lose weight, I can't stand the way my stomach feels against my pants, all this self-talk, you focus on that and it just brings that energy level down and makes you feel extremely stuck. So really trying to have those thoughts that are positive but feel believable. You can't say I'm going to be a size 2 tomorrow, whatever, but like I'm learning to listen to my hunger cues. I'm learning that when I'm bored to go out and find something else to do, or, those thoughts that are positive and nurturing versus the thoughts and what we're saying to ourselves that's so negative. That your own thoughts can keep you stuck for sure.
Absolutely. Okay, Julie, we have to take a break.
Oh, yeah.
So we're going to take a quick break. I almost forgot because we were on a sort of a runaway chat here, which is great. So we will take a quick break. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back in just a moment. Okay, we are back. And we were just talking about negative self-talk and how that can sabotage our efforts. And it's very, very sneaky when those little conversations come up in our mind or we're beating ourselves up over something. We talk more disrespectfully to ourselves than we do to the outside world. And it's interesting. I was just thinking, I have a dear friend who is a counselor, and there are times where she will catch me if I'm being not so nice or talking not so nice about myself and I'm with her. So for example, if I say, yeah, and I couldn't believe it. And then the other day I did this and that was so silly or so stupid, and she'll stop and she'll say, hey, wait, please do not talk SHIT about my friends. Like, I don't appreciate that. And I'm like, oh, wait, I'm talking about myself. And she'll
so sweet.
Or she'll just say, why are you talking SHIT about my friends?
Oh my gosh, I love that. I'm going to steal that. I love that.
It's so cute. We'll do it for each other, Julie. We'll do it.
Yes, I like that. It's so true. It's so true. We are our worst enemies when it comes to our self-talk. And I don't think we realize how much it brings down your whole sort of joy meter when you're sort of
100%. No, exactly. So getting us back on track with tools and mindset stuff around getting unstuck. The self-talk is huge. Looking at your landscape, right, Julie, with like the spokes of your wheel.
That's a really good way to put it.
Yeah. Or going through the steps and saying, gosh, sweet Holly, what do you want? What are you wanting? Just really caring and treating yourself with the TLC that you need and digging deep and inquiring versus beating ourselves up over the fact that we're stuck somewhere. I wanted to talk a little bit about, I was going to say journaling is another great way to get unstuck.
I think that's so important I think, for those of us that aren't, I'm a journaler. I love to write stuff down, especially when I'm trying to kind of figure out a heart issue, but it's so important to get it out on paper. It's sort of, I think emotions and your thoughts can just swirl and start to sort of almost cause a certain bit of hell in your psyche, right? And so getting those swirling thoughts out really clear on paper is so huge. And then you and I were talking about writing a letter. I usually have my clients like write a letter from love. Do you do that with your clients?
Yes, I actually had a very powerful situation with a teen client.
Oh,
we were trying to
more.
I'll tell you all the things. We were trying to sort through, like, there was just a lot of turmoil, and we had spent months together, lots of turmoil. And we got to this point, long story short, where I said, let's do this. And she was a very mature teen, so she was able to kind of drop into this. It's kind of an abstract.
It is
doing things. It's kind of abstract. It's very creative. Doesn't have to be done perfectly or the right way. But I said, we had conversations about our higher self, our true self, our loving self, our best self that lives inside of us. Yeah. And then there's our social self and how we interact with the world and how we get through the day and all the things. So what I had her do was write a letter from her true higher self. Mm-hmm. To help explain. So her higher self was essentially explaining what's really going on in there. And I know that sounds like a magical woo-woo way of addressing things, but she sat down and wrote a letter from her higher self advising her on where some of these things were coming from. I love this. It blew both of our minds. We both had tears in our eyes. What came out of that, she had an opportunity to really tap into her deeper self and get creative, no pressure, no stress, and just really let the words flow on paper. This is not about proper grammar and writing a beautiful piece. This is about just scribbling out and getting some things out. And I kid you not, like, we probably shaved off a couple years of therapy. This expedited our process in such a great way. It was beautiful. And it's hard sometimes with teens and adults as well, because I'm a former English teacher in a past life, and I know that writing is not always fun. And we still get a little bit of anxiety if we have to write something or journal something, because it seems like work. But this isn't anything that's going to be graded or looked at. This could be bullet points. This could be words on a paper, incomplete sentences. Just getting things out of your body, you would be amazed at how it moves your energy and can help clear space for your stuckness.
And you gave her such a gift, because especially at that age, it's like I would wish that for all my children, to tap into that knowing, that still knowing that culture and life and busyness sort of clouds that voice, and for her to be able to find that and tap into it is huge. You gave her a gift that she'll use the rest of her life.
Oh my gosh, yeah. And for those out there that want to try this, essentially what you're doing is you're giving yourself advice from your best self, from your highest self. Give yourself some advice about the stuckness, because there's a wisdom that's deep inside of you. It's just a matter of learning how to cultivate that, pull that out, because it's there. It's there in all of us. And Julie, you and I, going through our life coach program years ago, this is one of the first things that we learned. Our clients, ourselves, we are our best source of wisdom. We know what's best for ourselves. It's not about the exterior world and what we're supposed to do. It's deeply in our soul what's right for us. And we need to tap into that to figure that out.
And I think it's so important what you said, like, no, don't think about grammar. It's almost like you're getting this download of the more you try to structure it, even it's like, let the magic just sort of fall out on the paper. And then also like the higher self letter, I love that. And then I've had clients before write letters from love, like, what would love tell you to do here? And so, writing a letter to love, or writing a letter to money. A lot of times people that have kind of, relationships with money that have been tricky in the past, or they're not feeling like they are financially where they want to be. Another trick is to write it from that standpoint, money.
I love that. That's beautiful. Good stuff. Oh my gosh. Any other tools that you can think of before we have to wrap up today, Julie? Any other little tidbits?
I think we've covered. I think we covered the spokes and the positive talk, and I love the 4 steps that you laid out. I think that's huge, and I think one other thing that just came to me, and actually my girlfriend asked me this, and I think it's like so wise, and I never thought about this. I was complaining about, I think it was actually my business, like, it's just not where I want it to be, and this, that, and the other. And she's like, well, what if it never is? Like, find happiness without that working. And you kind of were talking about that too, with sort of along the spokes too, like what are with love, what you don't have control, 100% control, who shows up, who you connect with, and who you have a relationship with. So what if that never happened? Who would you be? Who would you be without this event happening? Or if you want a lot of money, or if you want this perfect relationship, or if you want this thriving business, who would you be if you didn't have it? And really finding deep happiness all around that, I think, is huge.
Oh my gosh, that's a very advanced concept, because that's hard just thinking about, well, what if it just never was? Like, how can we find happiness with, I love that.
It's hard. In fact, when she asked me, I was like, well, of course it's going to, you get defensive. Like, of course I want love. Of course I want, but it ended up really settling in for me. And it really helped me focus on those other spokes, like all the things I have to be grateful for. And gratitude, we didn't say this, gratitude, it's overused, I know, but gratitude is a very, very good tool to get you unstuck too.
Yes, because we all have so many gifts in our world, in our lives individually, that we overlook, because a lot of the time we're looking from this lens of, I want to fix this, or this isn't right, versus, oh my gosh, look at all these beautiful things.
I'm so guilty of that. I'm so guilty.
I know.
Oh, we're working on it though.
Of course, always a work in progress for sure. Julie, oh my gosh, thank you for being here again and co-hosting with me today. How can our listeners get in touch with you?
Julie juliegmast.com right there. That's the best way.
Perfect. Excellent. And thank you, listeners, for joining us in the conversation today. If you would like one-on-one coaching support as you navigate your personal comeback, reach out to me by visiting hollymcclaincoaching.com. And of course, Julie, we didn't mention, one of the wonderful tools to getting you unstuck is working with a coach. Finding someone that you really connect with, that gets you, that supports you, that's there for you as your cheerleader and your guide. Coaches essentially are holding the flashlight out on your path, helping illuminate where you're going and what you need, because you already know that comes from deep inside. You know what's best for you. We're just helping and guiding you.
Peeling back the layers. That's, yeah.
Peeling back the layers. Absolutely. Absolutely. And final thank you to Cece, my amazing producer who works her magic on the back end to make this show possible. Thank you. Join me again next time, and have a great rest of your week and be well.